Welcome to week 4, where you should now be very familiar with the structure of the warm-up. This week we are going to blend our phase 1 and 2 together so that we can raise throughout our activating and mobilizing period. To do this, we focus on simple movements first and then gradually increase the complexity of each movement, while also considering which joints are ready to be loaded at certain times. Unless stated otherwise, each movement should be completed for a 30-second period. During this period, as we stated last week, the focus is on the quality of the movement and we should not rush. Racing through the movement will likely just tire you and reduce your ability to perform in the main activity. Depleting energy levels before even starting your main activity will most certainly reduce your performance potential of that activity. Remember, the aim in these warm-ups is to prepare the body, of course, to reduce injury, but most of all, to improve the short-term and long-term performance. To help you achieve the maximum benefit for each movement, we have introduced a recovery jog for the majority of activities, so that you can focus 100% on the movement on the way there and get a recovery jog on the way back. Before we get started, you may want to take a few minutes to gather some equipment for our phase 3, where we will be using a ball and we will use some t-shirts to create our own hurdles/ladder. For your first movement, you do a quad stretch reach, bringing your heel towards your bottom, bringing your knees in line, reaching up to the sky and completing the movement with a calf raise, stepping into the next leg. Once you get to the end of your track, you need to do a light jog back to your starting position to get your recovery period in. Continue to do so for your 30-second period before moving on to the next exercise. Moving into the quad stretch bend this time, we take up a quad stretch position again, however this time we reach forward, hinging at the hips with a slight bend at the knee to mimic a single leg deadlift position. After each repetition, we step into the next leg to complete on the other side. When you reach the end of your track, of course complete your recovery jog back to the starting position. Continue to complete for 30 seconds before moving on. For our inchworm or plank walkout, we walk our hands down into a plank position and then we follow with our feet, keeping our legs completely straight. Continue to walk for the whole track, staying in this position, never standing up completely. This is a nice introduction for the upper body, but it's mainly a great stretch for the hamstrings. Once you reach the end of your track, you may stand up and do your recovery jog back to the starting position. Continue to do this movement for the 30-second period and then move on. Now into your familiar side lunge bounce, take a step out keeping one leg straight, bending into the stepping leg, and then bounce back over to the original side before you pivot and step into the next leg. Continue to bounce over from side to side, stepping into the next leg. Once you get to the end of the track, do your recovery jog back to your starting position for 30 seconds and then move on. We bring various movements together now for our knee pick lunge stretch, where we go into our knee pick, raising our knee up, completing the movement with our hands, stepping into a lunge with our arms above our head to challenge that balance. Once we are in the lunge position, we bring our fingers towards the floor, straighten both legs, and then come back into the knee pick onto the other leg. A great movement to challenge that balance, and once you get to the end of the track, of course, complete the last stretch, stand up and do your recovery jog back to the starting position. Continue to do so for your 30-second period. To increase the workload of the upper body, we use our side plank rotation, starting in a press-up position, rotating to balance on one hand with our chest facing out to the side. Ensure the other hand goes up nice and high so we can open the body right out. Continue to alternate between the sides for the 30-second period. Now's the time to create our ladder out of our t-shirts, rolling them into a nice compact straight line and placing them in an order like this with spaces in between. Completing phase 1 and 2, we use our plank side step, creating a nice flat line between our shoulders right through to our heels. Coordinate the steps between your hands and feet together, moving between the spaces of the ladder you have created. Continue to go back and forth with your plank side step with no recovery jog, continuing for 30 seconds before you move on. Moving into our phase 3, our potentiation phase, we now use our ladder for our side hurdle gallop. Turn side onto your created ladder and make sure you have contact with both feet between each space. Coordinate the driving of the arms and legs together and continue to make your contact gently but quickly between each space. Continue to do this for 30 seconds with no recovery jog between. Increasing a plyometric element to our movements now, we use a jump bounce, springing into the next jump, landing on the balls of the feet, into our recovery jog once we have completed the track. Complete the movement for the 30-second period and then move on. Using the same idea here but increasing the load on each leg, we use our single leg jumps or hops, springing into the next jump, driving with our arms and legs to complete the track, and then use our recovery jog to return. Make sure you change what leg you are hopping with after each track. Continue to do so for the 30-second period before moving on. We now get our ball ready to increase the preparation load of the upper body. Here we use a slam ball or weighted ball. If you do not have one of these, then just use a football sized ball. If you have one that is flat, that is preferable as it will not bounce away from you. We use the ball slams here, squatting down to pick the ball up, pressing above the head completely straight and bending at the knees and hips, throwing the ball into the floor, completely extending the arms when releasing the ball. Continue to complete the movement for 30 seconds before moving on. Into our ball press, we squat down to pick the ball up and then powerfully press the ball up into the sky and forward slightly, continuing to walk over slowly and completing again. As you can see, I maintain good posture throughout the squat technique to pick the ball up, and then I completely extend my body and my arms to complete the press motion. This is a great plyometric exercise for the upper body and prepares the body for upper body sporting movements to meet the demand of certain activities. Continue to complete the movement for the 30-second period using a slow recovery walk between each throw. complete this week's warm-up and phase 3, we use our rotational ball slams. To complete the movement effectively, you're going to need to use a pivot fluidly between each foot to complete each slam. Pick the ball up by bending at both knees with one foot pivoted, straighten the legs and pivot into the other foot to complete the slam on the other side. Make sure you rotate each time facing a different side for each slam. Just like in the other ball slams, you need to throw the ball as hard as you can by extending your arms once you release the ball. Continue to alternate which side you slam the ball into for 30 seconds. Well done for completing week 4's warm-up. As you may have noticed, to meet the demands of the main activity, we have increased the preparation load on the upper body as well as warming up the entire body as usual.